The Long Way Home, Chapter 19, Definitions. The ravages of the hyperspace sea were kept at bay by the Long Way's hyperdrive projecting a bubble of reality around her, and a dazzling spray of colors across a visible light spectrum in a swirling kaleidoscope chaos. This was simply how hyperdrives worked, and the light show has passed into an unremarked fact of life by most spacefarers in centuries gone by. However, some shipbuilders still insisted on installing viewports and view screens for the express purpose of letting those who sail look upon the vastness of space and the turbulent, tumbling unknown of hyperspace. The Long Way was such a ship. Her small size worked against her, and left only 2 small viewports in the cabins in addition to the main view screens on the bridge. But the main view screen was plenty for Jason and George. Family law held that George men were ever moved by the sight as far back as the burning of Ignitia, or maybe earlier. Family law held that Gregory George himself sought solace in the sight of the colorful sea slipping by when he was stranded far from home amongst terror's first friends amongst the stars. Family law further held that Eric George found comfort from an unauthorized windows aboard the Robin Williams itself when he got the dreadful news of the Among the Star Tides We Sing's grisly fate. Family law held, and some photos proved, that Peter George proposed to Emily Sullivan in front of the biggest viewport he could find. More names besides were mentioned in family law, and Jason's own father often found ways to sit and sip a mug of coffee as he watched the enchanting sight. Jason himself had fallen in love with the ever-changing sight, clutching hot cocoa in a half circle of all the cousins clutching their own mugs of steaming hot cocoa at Grandpap's knee. And the old man himself had often let his gaze wander from the faces of his audience to the self-same viewport they'd gathered around. All of that did too little to explain why he found the sight so enchanting, so calming, only that he wasn't alone in his feelings. Sometimes, when he was on his watch on the bridge, Jason could almost believe that he could see a clear way home in the chaos. On his watch, like he was at the moment. On that watch, the hyperspace sea kept its secrets. Instead, the hatch leading to the galley cycled, and a nervous girl's voice asked, May I join you for a time? Hey, Isis Magdalene, did you get tired of avoiding me? It seems that your wrath has long cooled for these past days, she answered, with a defensive tinge to her voice. Yet you have yet to answer. Aye, you may. I wanted to talk to you too, but I'll hear you out first. Why should it be that I speak first? Because it's only polite. You screwed up your courage to come to me first, after all, Jason explained. No shouting, no glares, no name-calling, I promise. Isis Magdalene carefully edged around the tight bridge and sat in Vincent's seat. Then she carefully rearranged the pleats of her dress, fixed her hair, took a deep breath, rearranged her dress again, checked her reflection in an inactive screen, and took another deep breath. Jason valiantly suppressed his mirth, and she began, I behaved shamefully to you during crisis. I became afraid and sought to cover my fear with indignation at the manner you discharged your duty and expected you to bear such a tantrum in silence. Worse, when you did not, I let my own wrath be stirred against someone I thought shall not meet my anger with resistance when you left. You had already made it clear to me that the prerogatives and duties of my house do not apply, but I still made demands on you in regards to my station and dignity. For all of this, I have sorrow and now do make apologies. Forgiven, Jason said, without hesitation before asking, and one else. The girl looked at Jason with open bewilderment on her face and rejoined, That simply, I make apologies and you forgive? Jason mightily suppressed a bemused bark of laughter and reported, Why oughtn't it be that simple? She began, as a flush of embarrassment crept up her cheeks. I know not. It seemed to me that your wrath was very great, so I'd expected to make some kind of amending. As has been done for me, so I do for others. And if God himself can forgive even wretched mankind, who am I to refuse something so simple? The understanding broke through as she nodded. You are a disciple of Christ. Aye, that I am. I do my best, anyhow. This, she began, and trailed off. Take your time, Jason told her. Recall your promise. Jason nodded to her gravely and repeated, No shouting, no glares, and no name-calling. When I called you keeper of oath, you became very wroth with me. I've tried to ask others why you found it so insulting, but Trundray tells me that I have no rights to lay such a thing on your shoulders, and shall speak no more. Vi speaks much the same. Cadet tells me he does not understand, and Vincent says that I must speak with you to understand. Please tell me what I have done wrong, for I do not understand. Jason kept his word. He kept his face and voice carefully blank, as he said with an iron calm of wool, That'll take a bit to explain. Can you bear with me? Please,
I shall do my utmost.
When I say Admiral Nelson Jock, Captain Leonard Chen, Corporal Jack Stormborn, Captain Mark Ramirez, and Sergeant Thomas Mitchell, what do you think? Isis Magdalene furrowed her brow at Jason and made little effort to hide her confusion as she tentatively guessed, Republican servicemen? Most, but not all. Heroes, all. But if I say Major General Eric George, Captain John George, Sergeant Linus George, and Corporal Peter George, what do you think?
The breakers of the chains,
she answered in a reverent whisper. What do you suppose those four have in common with the folks you've never heard of?
Did they also serve in the Dominion War?
Aye. Some of them were even in the battle and the Imperial Palace.
Jason, I did say I shall bear with you, but my confusion has only grown.
Why are just my family the chain breakers? Do you suppose they did it all by themselves? Do you suppose anybody does anything on his own? Everybody needs help from friends and kinfolk, sometimes even from strangers. And all they did was their little bit of a great deed. But people like you saddle them with titles and call them heroes without a thought about what they'd want. Then you go and try to shove some title on me, when all I did was help you get buckled. And I just don't figure it's that heroic.
Isis Magdalene gulped audibly before she told him, this was not my intention.
Jason let out a rueful sigh and reassured her. Shh. I figured on that much.
I wish...
I'm still hearing you out. If you want to say something, I'll listen. Isis Magdalene crossed her ankles, crossed them the other way, ran a thumb over her left elbow horn, crossed her ankles the other way again, and began.
You may not believe this, but some amongst the nobility can look upon another and gain a sense of kind of the shape of another's spirit, or mind, or perhaps some other word in this tongue should be fit better. What sort of person they are. This is not very precise, and some have lesser or greater talent, and many have trouble for races other than the Exarch. I, however, have some small talent in that direction above what is usual, and I look upon you. The unbidden comes to thought, this one shall never break a vow. He can be well trusted, and is why I called you such.
No George has ever gone back on his or her word, Jason said offhandedly, as his gaze drifted once again to the swirling colors of hyperspace travel. And I'm certainly not going to break the streak. But please, let the heroic nicknames lie. I'm Jason. I'm only me.
I do believe that is all I wished to speak of. You did say that you wished to speak of something.
Jason suppressed another sigh and said, It's not exactly unrelated. I'm sorry for losing my temper with you and shouting, and for threatening to call you Princess Fuzzypants, and for taking so long to apologize.
I did avoid you by purpose, she admitted.
True. But I am sorry. I was sore with you, and I was stressed out. But that's no excuse. I should have been more patient with you and extended you a little understanding.
Please, let your sorrow fade. I hold you blameless.
Thank you. I take that as forgiveness. I'll try not to lose my temper like that again. There's, something else.
What is it?
You weren't the only student taken, were you?
No, I was not.
Want to talk it over? Isis Magdalene clutched her elbow horns in her hands and drew in on herself before she hollowly said, No, I don't. Then just listen to this. By every drop pod ever launched, by every headstone on repose, by every baby's laugh, by the very seas of terror herself, and the stars of God himself put into the void, I will never let them take you again. Jason very carefully didn't see the tears running down her cheeks as she said,
I believe you.
The galley lights illuminated the counter and cooktop where Trundray was helping Vi prepared a large lunch of game for roasting over a bed of forage peppered vegetables that Vincent thought tasted a bit like parsnips. Vi sometimes cast worried glances towards the hatch leading to the cockpit. Gannett, having nothing to distract him, on the other hand, stared intently at the hatch from his seat on the sofa. Vincent admitted, privately in his own head, that he let his gaze fall upon the closed hatch, from where he lounged across the goodly 2/3 of the sofa from time to time, with a mix of expectation and worry both.
But if she's being mean in there? Cadet asked without preamble.
Then Jason will handle it, Vincent gruffly said, as he picked up one of the tablets and loaded up where he'd left it off in reading the Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court.
Handle it? How? Cadet asked with all of his customary grace. He says that he won't hit a girl. If she won't stop being nice to Jason, I'll hit her, Trundray darkly muttered from the kitchen area of the galley. You? Cadet shot back with again all of the grace and candor of his incredulous tone he had become known for. I could hit somebody, if I was mad enough, Trundray declared defensively.
3 sets of unbelieving eyes fell on her silent reply.
I could, use a wrench, she insisted. But if you miss and hit the long way instead, Vi asked quietly. Well, maybe not a wrench. I can snap her, Chandra conceded.
Tran, Vincent said evenly from behind his tablet. No screwing yourself up for violence. Jason can handle people being rude to him without hitting them. Chandra returned to peeling the parsnip-like things as a blue skin flushed lilac around her cheeks and her ears as she muttered, Oh, that's right. Jason can handle it. That's why you told her to just talk to him. Clever girl, Vincent agreed, and nudged Cadet with his foot before telling him, You, try not to worry so much. This is the kind of thing Jason's good at. Cadet grunted by the way of reply, and the long way's constant humming drone filled the silence with her cozy, close comfort, despite the friction felt by her crew over the past few days. At length he said,
Vincent, what is a hero?
You have a talent for tough questions, kid, Vincent grumbled as he gave up on reading and laid his tablet aside to sit up and think.
That isn't an answer,
the boy helpfully pointed out with the azure feathers across his face beginning to bristle and stand in irritation. I know, kid. Give me a minute, Vincent said as he struggled to pull his thoughts together. An answer.
I asked Jason a while back, and he just said that he doesn't want to be one,
Cadet elaborated, his plumage lying back and as more patient calm came over him. In this world, heroes are people who make sacrifices for other people, sometimes their lives. In Jason's world, heroes do the right thing even when it kills them, and only get the peace they deserve when they reach their last day. So I guess he wouldn't think being a hero is very attractive, Vincent mused, still looking for his own answer. Chandra nodded gravely from the kitchen while Vi froze mid-seasoning, and Cadet pressed, But I want to know what you think a hero is. Still working on that, kid. It's a hard question to answer.
I know. If I could figure it out, I wouldn't have asked it.
Vincent drummed his fingers on the sofa's armrest and felt his left ear twitch as he began to get an idea of an answer. Do you remember how to know what the right thing to do is?
Do unto others,
Cadet answered with a full body ruffle of his feathers. Yeah. Well, most people try to do the right thing most of the time and usually don't do the wrong thing. Most people can do the right thing reliably when things are good, when things are easy. When things are hard, when it's dangerous or hard to figure out, most people just try to not do the wrong thing, even when they can see that what the right thing to do is. They don't do the right thing because they're too afraid, or don't believe that they can do it, or don't think it'll make enough of a difference. Heroes look at the costs, look at their fear, and do the right thing anyway. Cadet appraised Vincent with one eye, and then the other in the way that he did when he was thinking something over before he asked, Doesn't that make you a hero? I don't know, Vincent admitted with unconcern. Maybe, maybe not. I do my best to do the right thing, sure. But I don't know how about heroic. Cadet narrowed his eyes at Vincent once again and said,
But you did the right thing for us, when just not doing the wrong thing should have been easier.
Vincent drummed his fingers on the sofa's armrest for a couple seconds again, and listened to the gentle humming of the long way as he thought about the answer. Listen, kid, he grunted. You're going to have to bear with me. I'm not good. We've heard that before. I mean, I can't really know if I'm a hero or not, since I'm just not really up to me.
What do you mean? You do things that heroes do, and that makes you a hero, right?
Cadet asked, in the tones of a boy trying to square a circle. Well, sure. But it's also not really up to me whether what I did is heroic or not. That's up to, well, in this case, I guess it's up to you guys. I made my choices. I tried to make them the right ones, but I cannot control what you think about that.
So you don't really get a choice about being a hero or not?
Cadet asked with a thin edge of anger creeping into his voice. Well, I can decide to be courageous or cowardly or kind or cruel, but whether I'm a hero is a judgment, something that other people figure out. If you think I'm a hero, then I'm a hero to you. What I think about it is up to me.
Oh, what if you are a hero to me?
Then, thank you, Vincent told him seriously. Vincent's canine hearing didn't miss Vi's whisper of,
Poor Jason.
So far as reactors and hyperdrives went, the long way was quiet. So quiet that Jason thought her soft-spoken, even in her engine room, where her systems were the loudest. It wasn't his favorite haunt, but Chandra was down there by herself again, and they still had 8 days until the scheduled translation to real space. Everybody else, even Vincent, assumed she was studying the alien yoke in case they managed to capture something else of the enemies. Jason knew his cousin a little better than that, though, and he knew that she was doing little more than fiddling with it in solitude. Even still, when he climbed down the ladder, he opened up with, Any progress, Tran? She laid a screwdriver on the bench and propped her head in her two left hands as she answered, Little. Are you trying for any? Jason asked as he closed the distance and leaned against the workbench to stand shoulder to shoulder with her.
Not really, she admitted.
When Vi figures out you're coming down here to be alone, she's going to get worried, Jason said with an offhanded tone as he reached out to gently probe the component of the yoke with a finger.
I can't figure out what that does either,
Trondre said simply. Then after a beat, she said,
She won't think that I want to get away from her, will she?
She might. She's pretty sensitive, and she works hard to make sure that we know that she likes us, Jason said as he nudged the whole yoke on the bench to rotate it.
Oh, Trondre murmured. What about the others?
Uncle Vincent will think that you should be allowed your space, if that's what you want, and Cadet has to be told when there's something we do together, since he's so used to being on his own.
What about the other one?
Jason kept his eyebrows from rising as he asked the way of reply. Do you care?
Trondre shifted her weight from one foot to the other before she answered. Just say what you think.
Isis Magdalene hasn't told me what she thinks of anybody, Jason reported, and Trondre finally looked up to show him deeply worried eyes. She and I made up. We're not sore at each other anymore, and we're trying to get along. What about you?
I think I might dislike her,
Trondre admitted in a low mumble. Jason raised an eyebrow and asked, Dislike her?
Trondre spun the screwdriver on the bench with a rolling clatter and watched it spin until it stopped before she said, She comes to our decks as castaway, and having received and accepted our guest right, she demands more because of her station. Whatever that means. Offers insult to you, to Vi, and dishonest the long way, too. She does nothing, says little, and merely sits like a lump looking down through her nose at us. Duels have been fought for less.
You've gone from disliking her to wanting to duel her, Jason said with a wry grin, twisting his lips.
Well, maybe I shan't duel her, Trondre admitted with a failed attempt at a scowl towards her older cousin. But still, it's irritating.
Her people don't know much about ships on a Tran, Jason said gently. If you want an apology,
Trondre interrupted with a fascinated slap to the bench and said, She's a good ship. She's a good ship who's had just now relearning joy. And here she comes, and then she says those things to you, and Cadet wants to know what a hero even is.
Jan, Jason began again, a little more firmly and with less gently. Do you think she owes you an apology?
Yes, no, maybe not. I don't know, Jason, Trondre said, with dwindling heat as she spun the screwdriver again.
So, what do you want?
I want, Trondre began softly, hesitantly, things to be like they were before she came aboard.
Tran, Jason began, and tried to keep the pain from his heart out of his voice. He must have failed because Trondre quickly said in an alarm,
I don't mean I want to get rid of her. Just things are different now, and I just made friends, and you're proud of me.
Am proud of you, Jason corrected. I am proud of you.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you.
Maybe Isis Magdalene would have more to say if somebody would talk to her, Jason mused.
I wish somebody would, Trondre muttered darkly.
Courage, Jason said with a smile, and clapped her on the shoulder. You need to gather a little courage. I'll be here for you either way.
Me?
She asked with growing alarm. You. Courage. She attempted to scowl at him again. She failed again. Meanwhile, above decks, at the aft of the ship, Vincent stood outside the airlock looking at the battered cardboard box sitting on the floor just inside the open inner door. He looked at the vital supplies within. He shut the door with a tap of the control panel, and his clawed finger trembled a quarter of an inch away from his target, and opened the outer door without depressurizing the airlock first, jettisoning the box of supplies within. Vincent didn't see the bottles collide with the swirling chaos of hyperspace at the edge of the bubble of reality around the long way and be atomized. He knew it happened, and that was enough. Heroes did what was right, even when it hurt. End of chapter. I'd quickly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.